welcome. We are
Blog
live.
Talk Radio.
You are listening to SpeakonRadio.com. Be seen, be heard, be present. The place where entrepreneurs, business owners, speakers, authors, actors, politicians, creative people and media experts are empowered and inspired to broadcast their passion. SpeakonRadio.com is a radio platform that has you in mind, bringing you not only inspiration, but practical solutions and opportunities to release your greatness. Tune in now at SpeakonRadio.com. That is, SpeakonRadio.com.
Wow, welcome to Speak on Radio. It's the first show that we are going live on Speak on Radio. And today we are going to be talking about how to discover how to deal with the media. How can you get the media to work for you? How can you promote yourself, promote your brand on media for free? And today I'm honored to have a very special guest, an ex-BBC TV producer with many years of experience. He has so much to offer us. Pete Water, are you on the line?
Hello. Hi, Sarah. Yeah, just about. I just made it. Unfortunately, I was held up slightly before getting here, but I'm delighted to be with you today.
And we are so glad to have you. Pete, we've had obviously conversations around sort of dealing with the media. And I know a lot of our listeners out there afraid of the media because we hear a lot of, obviously there's a lot of positive press, but there's a lot of negative press in terms of interviews and people have had. And again, the media, the press seem to be out of reach for most people. So be able to, our listeners, have entrepreneurs, small business, have people who are just branding themselves. Do you offer them?
Well, I think in general, there is a huge misconception amongst most people in business that the media is going to be out to get you, that it's a sort of evil thing that hasn't got your best interests at heart. And that really comes from a lot of our sort of high media, as it were, with the tabloid press and the journalists that you see going after politicians every night. And the reason I think why the media in the UK is so confrontational, and that is the perception of it, is because it's actually quite healthy, our media, that we do feel like we can challenge people, especially in positions of power. And maybe in other places around the world, that's not always the case. But at the level at which most small businesses will be engaging with the media, I can guarantee you from many years of experience that engagement is not something to be scared of, and that you're not going to be challenged and harassed and given a rough ride by the media at all, unless you've done something really badly wrong, in which case it's fair enough that you are challenged by the media. But engaging with the media on the most part is a very positive experience and is something that will massively help you in terms of getting your message out to a much bigger audience than you can ever otherwise hope to reach. And also in terms of adding credibility to your brand. I'd say that, if you go into a pitch meeting or a meeting where you're trying to raise money, perhaps, and you have an identical product to someone else who has the backing of, let's say, the Daily Telegraph and has had a few articles in the BBC about their product. I think that is an obvious sort of game changer in terms of getting people's attention. So I think there's really for the most part, there's so much more to be gained by engaging with the media than by staying away from it. Yeah.
Okay, so before we get into all that, right? So, because we've voices like jumped right in, I'm just going to kind of just do this. I mean, no, that's great. No, that's great. Kind of just managing our listeners' expectations.
Sure.
It's like we're going to be live for the next 1 hour, 24 minutes. So you've got to dial in, and you've also got to either on Facebook or on Twitter connect with us at Sarah Lister. That's my hashtag, my handle on Twitter and on Facebook. Send us some questions and we'll be able to answer that during the show. But before we actually dive in, Pete, we would like to know, so in terms of where do you know this stuff from, in terms of your background and how you got into the media? If you can tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, I'd be delighted to. Yeah. Well, it's sort of my background is really that I was sort of born into a kind of semi-showbiz family. My father was a broadcast journalist who worked for the BBC and ITN Channel 4 News. And I suppose his most happy time was as the Paris correspondent for the BBC, where we lived as a family for a couple of years, which was great. And my mum worked in theatre as a set designer, amongst other things. And my sister has become an actress and is very successful, works at sort of National Theatre, Royal Shakespeare Company and things like that. And so then it was left to me, and I wasn't so keen to get in front of the camera, but felt that I would be good behind the camera and behind the microphone, so to speak. So I decided to get into production. And after university, I studied history at university, and then managed to get a job on a program about politics, and from there worked a while on political programming, sort of documentaries and some other more hard-hitting standard news programs. And then I moved briefly into comedy programming. I did some satire shows on the BBC. And then I actually decided, as a sort of keen musician, it was my life's ambition at the age of 25 to work for MTV. That's what I thought would be the thing to do. And so I managed to get a job at MTV working on MTV News, which is the, at the time, sadly it's been cancelled now, but back in the mid-noughties when I worked there, it was a daily bulletin on show business news, and that was great fun. I had a couple of good years going around interviewing every single pop star you can possibly imagine, going to lots of launches, and just sort of rubbing shoulders with the rich and famous, which was great fun. And then after that, I got into a bit of history programming, which again was my subject at university. I worked on a show for a while called Who Do You Think You Are, which has gone on to become a huge success, not only in the UK, but also in the US now. It's expanded over there, and where celebrities trace their family history. And I had a very interesting time looking into the Holocaust and other sort of major historical events through the eyes of a few celebrities. So that was great fun and very interesting as well. And then I sort of segued again into drama, and I ended up producing a drama show on Channel 5, and that was my last sort of big job. Excuse me. Before I managed to get into media training, and that was really because my father, after he retired from being a journalist, had set up this media training company, and media training is a bit of a sort of open secret in a way, because it's quite an expensive thing to do. And for those people that don't know, and I'm not surprised if you don't know about it, it's where journalists, mainly former journalists, go and coach spokespeople, CEOs, sort of head of press, that kind of thing, from big business and also from big government departments, and sometimes sort of the super rich who have something that they need to talk about in the media. They go and coach them before they appear on the media. So if you've ever wondered why these bosses seem kind of so flawless when they go in front of the camera, it's because they've been practicing for the last month or two with highly trained journalists firing incredibly difficult questions at them over and over again.
Yeah. So basically, sorry.
My dad was doing that, and he wanted to retire completely. So he asked me to take over that business, and I was at a bit of a crossroads because I wasn't really sure about whether that was right for me, but I thought I'd take it on as an experiment, and see how it goes for a year or two, and then as a result of doing that, I sort of realized that I did enjoy it, but I also wanted to get involved with helping out a sort of a different group of people with media training. Because, as I said, media training is not really very available to a vast majority of us because it's so expensive. But I thought, is there a way of getting media training of an excellent standard, the kind of standard that I would deliver to these sort of blue chip companies, to a much wider range of people? And so I set up this website called dealwiththemedia.com, where that is all available. But perhaps we'll talk about that a bit further. Again, I might have gone a bit too far with my story.
No. Yeah, it's one of these things, about life in terms of the interview, that, everything is interlinked because it's about you, it's about your business. And in terms of sort of going over, wow, you've got a wide range of experience within the media, politics, comedy, music, history, drama. You've touched all those areas, and which is really good because one of the in terms of the description of the show, I kind of did mention small business owners, entrepreneurs, artists, politicians, and some people might just think, really, that one person is able to basically to connect with all these people. And I said, I think the answer is yes, because you have a wide range of experience. And what you're saying to us, the CEOs get a lot of coaching, and that's why they stand there and we're all wowed. It's wow. Of course, we don't see the behind the scenes. So are you saying that anyone listening today has the ability to sound exactly the same, message well crafted, message coming across natural because they've had media training?
I'd say absolutely. I think it's communication is a skill, but it's a skill that can be taught for sure. And it's just like anything else. The more time you put into it, the more practice you have, the better you'll get. And these bosses have just practiced and practiced and practiced. And I've seen some of them up close and personal. You would not believe, how bad they are. I mean, a guy who did I went and helped coaching on his speech, a big presentation he was going to give, a big sort of AGM annual ceremony in front of hundreds of people, including all the shareholders. And he practiced this speech for an hour. And at the end of it, said, so what do you think? And I thought, well, it's great, but it would really help if you took the gum out of your mouth. And this was he'd done it. and no one had noticed or thought to tell him that this was a bad thing to be chewing gum in front of everybody. You could barely hear him really when push comes to shove. I constantly hear speeches and presentations and interviews from very well respected people that